I wanted to make a horror film that challenges the status quo, that challenges beauty standards, that challenges family's traditions, that makes society looks itself in the mirror. A lot of people say like, take it easy or whatever, but I'm like, I can't, not in the times that we're living in now.
Pull up a chair and listen in because we're here, damn it. This is Georgia in Connecticut. I am your host, Georgia Reed, and today's guest is a man by the name of Jon Cruz, writer, filmmaker, and producer. Jon has written and produced and directed 3 films, including Different Meaning, Sigi Mosaki, and Be Mind. He is currently working on a 4th feature. He's starting it as a short film called Midnight, which the screenplay has already won awards, including nominee at the New York Independent Art Film Fest, Best Short Screenplay at Catra Film Series 2026, also a winner at the New York International Film Awards, and official selection at the Sinister Horror Film Festival. One more, nominated official selection at the Los Angeles Fantasy Fest. He is working on a book of short horror stories, and he is in talks to develop a podcast. So you got a few things going on. Let's start with where in Connecticut and why in Connecticut?
So I grew up in the North End, Westbrook Village. I grew up there. I was born in Puerto Rico. I was born in Humacao, Puerto Rico. My family is from Yabucoa. I came here when my mom finished high school. I was a baby. And my mom came here because she wanted to give me and my brothers, I'm the oldest of 3, a better life and a chance to make something of ourselves. So my mom raised 3 boys on her own. I went to 2 different high schools, East Harbor High School and Manchester High School. Played football, did track and field. I was a thrower. And then from there, I kind of went off to college, but my first choice was leaving as far as I could because I wanted to change the scenery. I needed something new. So I went to West Hills Schooling in California. I played there a little bit, went to school there, and then I decided to just come back, took a year off, and then I went to Monroe. And Monroe is where I came to the understanding that football isn't for me anymore. And the reason I came to that understanding was after a debate where I got kicked out of a professor's class.
Oh, you got to tell me about this.
Yeah. The professor was a veteran, and we were talking about the Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, yeah.
He was saying how disrespectful it was, and I told him, I said, at the end of the day, I don't think it's disrespectful. I think that what he was doing was admirable, and I think that he was trying to raise awareness to a problem that has existed here in this country for a long time.
He was being respectful as hell.
Yeah, and
He was being respectful as hell. Yeah.
exactly. And I was trying to tell the professor that there's an interview between Colin Kaepernick and a retired Army Ranger, and the Ranger told him that instead of sitting down, take a knee, because that's what soldiers do on the battlefield. They take a knee for their fallen brothers or sisters.
Yeah.
That's what Colin Kaepernick was doing.
Yeah.
He was taking a knee
Yeah.
for the people that died at the hands of police brutality.
Yeah.
But for me, I in the back of my mind, I came to the decision of as an athlete, as a football player, I was not going to be able to stand on the things that I care about, the things that I'm passionate about. Because I was always like that in high school too, where in art class, I would draw and I would write things about police brutality and equal rights and women's rights and people in the LGBTQ plus community and how they need to be treated fairly. And I remember it's at some capacity I always got pushback for it. And so when I got into film, I'm like, this is a way for me to basically try and challenge the narrative, right? Because black and brown identity has never been able to exist without condition. And the moment that you try to step off the stage, the moment that you try to exist without the expectations, without the conditions, all of a sudden you're like public enemy number 1. And I've always been dumbfounded by that, because I'm like, this is what we should want. This is how we progress as a people, because we share the same floating rock in space. It's not like we live in 2 different planets.
Right.
So I ultimately decided, I was like, no matter what the school tells me, I'm gonna leave anyway, and try and find my path through film, through art, because this is what makes me feel alive. This is how I translate myself to the world, and what's going on. And your obligation as an artist is you have to understand that when you make art and you put it out, it's not for you, it's for the people. And you also have to have the understanding that even though it's hard to look at tomorrow with optimism, you have to understand that everything that you do matters for the sake of everyone that will come after you. Because art, much like education, serves the purpose of empowering the people around you to think critically about the situation that they're in, about the society that we're living in, and about what they're doing with their lives. What type of action are they taking so that way we can build a better tomorrow together through art? Because I believe that art saves the world. I remember like when I first got into it, I remember Be Mine won like 6 awards in total, like as a film.
Yeah.
And I won like best director and best producer or producer of the year.
Where did you win these awards? Where?
This
Tell me.
was at Premios Latino and then Premios Vida. So this was like two Latin award shows in New York, both in Queens.
You're in Connecticut. You've grown up here. Now you've left Monroe. So then you get into the filmmaking. Now, did you just pick up a camera and start messing around and doing it yourself, or did you go into classes? What did you do?
So I started out as an actor.
Why did you start as an actor?
I got into acting because I wanted to find some way into getting into the industry, into the film and creative space. At first, I had like some doubts because like I was always the guy at the Black Lives Matter protests, at the protest where Trayvon Martin got shot, when we were protesting about Breonna Taylor.
You were there for all of that?
Yeah, I was here. We were marching up and down Hartford, and I was doing this since I was like 15, 16.
Yeah.
And I remember like my cousin who's also a filmmaker, Pedro Bermudez, shout out to him. He's been in the space for over 20 years. I saw a little bit of like how he got to tell the stories he wanted. And I remember at 18, I was a part of his mini documentary that he did. And that's when it started to hit me that like, this is like where I need to be. I need to find some way to get in here. And then from there, I got into acting. I always got auditions or parts for comedy roles every time. I was never able to get like something for a horror film or anything like that. So I did like Cold Turkey. It's like a little short film,
Yeah.
a student film.
Yeah.
And then I did a musical, a Newsies Community Theater musical. And that was here in Connecticut. We did about like 4 or 5 shows, I think. And then being a part of that show is what made me realize what I wanted to do behind the scenes, because I saw how hard everybody was working behind the scenes
Yeah.
and the amount of time and effort it took to put the thing together. And so I did Be Mine. We put it out. We did like a CT screening, and so I did Different Meaning, and Different Meaning gave me something that film festivals and galas won't be able to give me. And it gave me a chance to connect with people. And I remember when I first showed Different Meaning, the first screening, as people were leaving, this one old lady who was all the way in the back, she stayed. And I remember I had to like come back in for something, and she was by herself in there. And it was just me and her. And for the life of me, I can't remember her name. If you ever see this, please reach out to me because I would love to get your name and talk to you more. She was crying and she told me that I wish my son was still alive to watch this film because he died of suicide. And I'm like, this is why I was told to put out this film by whatever created me.
I want to share this burden. The burden of being human. Did you love me as much as I loved you?
Since that day, I try to put everything I can into every single project I do. And for me as an artist, as a writer, as a filmmaker, a lot of people say like take it easy or whatever. But I'm like, I can't, not in the times that we're living in now. And I think just descending into yourself, because when you do that, and that's when you can tell the best stories. And that's sort of what I did with They Come at Night, with the book. For me, like, every time I get a chance to, like, just descend into myself and face the things that I don't talk about a lot, or the things that I'm afraid of, or how alone I feel, or the fact that I don't have many friends. I start to write the best stories.
Networking in Connecticut, easy or hard?
It's tough to build a community around you, because it feels like it's every man for himself. I generally think that there's some people who would love for CT to be a highway between New York and Boston. And what I've came to the realization is, and I said this at an event, and I said this because the question was asked, what can organizations and nonprofits do to support artists and have more art out there? Well, the first thing that you can do is make more resources available. One, make more funding available. Instead of giving it to so and so and having so and so just basically create a platform where all the other artists can go through, because I don't think that's fair at all. And I've always said this. I think that we should do what Miami is doing. The city of Miami did this. They took $100,000. They did a writing competition. Whoever won the writing competition, they picked 4 winners. All 4 got $20,000 to play with. They made their own film. The last $20,000 was put towards a theater to do an event,
Done.
and they've been doing it every year.
Versus a platform where there's more gatekeeping.
Exactly.
Yes,
Why
exactly.
not make it inclusive
Yes.
for everyone?
Everyone. And the venue. That's
venue.
brilliant. Oh, I love that.
People in Connecticut, these CEO types, and even people in office, and people who run nonprofits, they have the means and resource to do it. They just don't want to do it because they're not comfortable with some of the artists, because some of the artists may come off as too loud, or some of the artists may come up as too controversial, or this artist, this filmmaker, is a gay man, or this one, she's trans, or
They
this
don't want
one, they're
that.
from a third world country.
Oh my
whatever.
God.
Like,
right. And you're
they
like,
don't-
no, that's all the great, that's what we need.
that exactly. That's what makes art.
Art. Right.
That's what it is. And here in CT, it's like there's a lot of filmmakers that I know who are leaving. A lot of filmmakers of color are leaving to different states. And it's all for the same reason. It's because they feel like they're not getting the support. And I see every day they're not getting the support. I know a guy who had to take out a $20,000 loan just to finish his film. When he went to a certain set of institutions and nonprofits, asked for funding, they all said no, but they turned around and gave the funding to a guy who didn't even look like him. So what you're telling me, that you're more, and some of these institutions are run by people of color, which is mind-boggling to me.
Oh,
You are basically saying that it's better for you to put money into a filmmaker who doesn't even know what it's like to walk in our shoes, a black and brown person's shoes,
yeah.
and have that person put on an event where you're having black and brown artists show their films. That's another white man in a white suit taking advantage of a black man just to fulfill the things that you want to fulfill, your agenda, and to get your brand out there.
Yeah.
Because you want to paint this sort of picture that this person's brand is the only way that you can get funding for your project and you can get your project out there. When I did Be Mine, I paid for the auditorium. I did that.
You four-walled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put it through film festivals on my own.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say what studios, but I did talk to some studios.
But that way you don't answer to anyone.
No.
That's brilliant.
And I got to those studios
Yeah.
on my own,
Yeah.
not through somebody. I did it on my own.
I'm so glad you're on my podcast to talk about this because this gives me a better understanding of what needs to change. I may not be the only person who can change it, but maybe the more awareness we have,
Mhm.
the better. I think it's time for a break. This is the part of the show where we would normally be featuring one of our sponsors. We don't yet have a sponsor, but if you decide you would like to be a sponsor of this show, this is where we would be sponsor, 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 sponsor. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor for Georgia in Connecticut, do reach out to us. The link is below in the show notes or description box. Welcome back to the show. Let's get into those questions that every creative loves to hear. So what do you do? What have I seen you in? What are you doing now? Talk to me, Goose.
Right now, I'm working on Midnight.
What first inspired this story? It's so good, by the way.
I was watching Us, and I remember I was telling myself I want to tell another horror story, and then I started writing the first draft, and it kept changing, and the reason it kept changing is because I wanted to tackle 3 topics. So each time that I put out a film, each film tackles a topic. This one I wanted to tackle 3: racism, colorism, and white Christian nationalism. And when I was writing it, I knew that it was going to be a very, very, very difficult challenge to tackle all 3. So I'm sitting there with Mike. Mike is the DP for the project, and he's creative producer for it as well. He and I were talking, and he was like, "John, we have to like try and find a way to not go in completely different directions and make this feel as focused as possible."
Which it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
please keep going. I'm so like, yes, yes, yes.
So as I'm like trimming the fat off of the story, I started to listen to music, and Childish Gambino's "This Is America" started playing, and I replayed it again. And I'm looking at the laptop screen, but I'm listening, and I play it probably like 5, 6 times, and then I turn on my TV and I put the music video on the TV. And I'm looking at his movements, the way he's moving his body, the way he's doing these different things with his chest and his feet, and I'm seeing the imagery behind him, and that's when it hit me. We have to try and find a way to root it in history. And so then I started to look up the history of minstrel shows, how it started, how it affected the country, how it affected how people view people of color, black and brown people. Minstrel shows started in New York with I think his name is Thomas D. Rice, and then it trickled down to the South. And then a lot of people don't know this, in the 70s and 80s, and I think in the 60s as well, people in Latin American countries like Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina started practicing minstrel shows because they believed that there was no such thing as an Afro Latino. At one point in Puerto Rico, people believed that there was no such thing as an Afro Boricua. And when you go to Puerto Rico now, if you stay in San Juan, you'll see a lot of whitewashed Puerto Ricans, and you'll see a lot of white,
Yeah.
light skinned Puerto Ricans. If you go to countryside, you'll see a lot of dark skinned Puerto Ricans, and you'll see the 2 different lifestyles that they live. The dark skinned Puerto Ricans that live in the countryside where I'm from, Yabucoa, they live a very like low middle class life versus the people in San Juan live a very like sort of high class life where
The lighter skin is preferred.
exactly.
Unbelievable.
It was not just in Puerto Rico, it was in all these other countries.
Oh, it's everywhere.
I was looking at it and I'm like, this is the root of it. What I ended up doing was something that I didn't think I would do. And a lot of my own experience went into it because I've experienced racism myself. I've been called a spick before when I was in college. I've been called a wetback before. I remember when we were playing, and this was in high school, we were playing a school, and the school is notoriously known for having racist students. I remember the student section came, one of them was like had grease paint on his face.
No.
They made monkey noises. They called us the N word.
And this is in the 2000s. Was this the early aughts?
This was around like 2017.
2017. This is happening
Around there.
here in Connecticut. In
Connecticut.
Connecticut in 2017, people.
I remember that day we lost the game.
I'm so sorry you went through that.
It's something that I sort of brush off because I know if I react, I'm giving you my power, but it'll keep the elements, because I think what makes Midnight such a unique horror film is that it's a horror film that talks about, like I said earlier, black and brown identity is not allowed to exist without condition. And it's asking you, who built the stage that you're standing on? What's the cost of stepping off that stage? And who taught you to shrink yourself in these times? It does it through the history of minstrel shows. Mia in the story, she's trapped. She's someone who really like loses herself. She doesn't know who she is. When you think it's over, it's not really over.
It's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a dream state, or she's in a dream state.
Yeah.
You're sitting there going, is it real? Is it not real? And she's not going to get out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the antagonist of the film, I mean, you could say it's Andrew, but it's not really Andrew. It's what society has came to.
Yes.
Andrew is sort of just the face of that force that was created. And Andrew is like my Thomas D. Rice in this, and
Yes.
the person who created sort of this ritual that happens in the town, and how everybody's complicit. And what the crazy thing is in the story, and I won't, say it without, spoiling it, but there are pieces and characters in the story that you wouldn't think would be on the villain side,
Right.
because there's these forces that have to move a certain way for Mia to continue into the direction that she's going into. I wanted to make a horror film that challenges the status quo, that challenges beauty standards, that challenges family's traditions, that makes society looks itself in the mirror. There's like a trend in Hollywood where there's always a protagonist or a partner to the protagonist who's white.
Yeah.
In every freaking story.
Yeah.
What made Ryan Coogler's thing so historic was not just the deal, but it was also because there was no protagonist or people helping the protagonist. I was white. None.
What a concept.
Whatsoever.
Well, it was beautiful.
And he took a classic monster villain, and sent a message through that lens. It wasn't even horror. It was something much more than
Much more.
With Midnight, there is no classic monster in there, but it's diving deep into what's going on in today's society and how there's black and brown people who are scared of their own blackness, who are scared of being who they are. There are brown people who are afraid of just speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
And it's always sad to me, but this is why, like, I emphasize the film. And a lot of people was like, why are you going back to horror? Well, horror, and we talked about this, it's
genres.
it's never been like about screams and shadows and monsters and ghouls or whatever.
Right.
It's been about coming face to face with the real monsters that exist among us every day. Us. Our capacity for violence.
Oh, yeah.
And our capacity just to explore darkness.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that we're afraid of, but it's the thing that fuels our curiosity when we go watch these films. And it's why the genre has existed for so long.
Yeah.
Why people still go out to the movies to watch horror movies, and why it still does good.
Are you going to first film the short as a concept piece and show that at Fest to try and then get funding? Like, what are the next steps for your story?
Yeah, so what I want to do is, we're hoping, if we get the budget that we're looking for, when we're done shooting it, put it out. We'll do like a CT screening sometime in December. Just a little community screening, nothing too big, because we're gonna do like our big premieres at festivals. After it goes through festivals, we want to either see if a studio or a company would be interested and helping us make it into a feature film. I am gonna send it to some companies who I've been talking to. If they say no, then plan B would be to go through crowd equity. So
Yeah.
talking to people around Connecticut, around the East Coast really, who have a track record of investing 10, 15, $20,000 into projects
Yes.
to help those projects get the $1 million budget that they're looking for. Because I think a feature film for midnight, and it would be titled The Garden, that would be around like $2 to $5 million.
Okay. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back with more with Jon Cruz. It's time for your daily constitutional. Born in Hartford, Connecticut, this American actress, model, and fashion designer acted in 39 films, including 6 films based on the very popular comic strip Joe Palooka. She is also the mother of actor Mark Harmon. Who is she? If you know the answer, click on the link in the show notes or description box below and leave a comment with your best guess. If you guess correct, we'll give you a shout out on one of our future episodes. And that's your Daily Constitutional. The Connecticut slogan is full of surprises. But I truly believe that all creatives are additionally full of surprises, and what better way to snorkel out some of those surprises, snorkel is a word I like, than to ask them all kinds of random questions. So let's get into it. What is your favorite thing about Connecticut?
Probably like my little circle, of my people. And then of course the little comic book stores that I go to.
Well, what is your least favorite thing about Connecticut?
How hard it is to get funding and resources for projects and for people to feel like they're heard. I would love for artists to stay in Connecticut. And
But we have to create the resources.
you have to create the resources. You have to create the space
Yeah.
for them to keep creating, because artists are not going to stay here. Filmmakers are not going to stay here if they feel like their voices are not being heard. And you can't try and do it through one person.
If you ever come up on a creative block, what do you like to do to unblock it? Or if you're feeling drained, how do you like to refill your creative well?
So it's interesting that you asked that. I'm glad that you asked that, because when I get writer's block, I always get it when I'm going through a challenge or turmoil in my life. But the way I get out of it is I have to remind myself that, like, one, it's not your fault. Two, even though you are this flower in a garden, right, that you've built, it's okay for them to bloom somewhere else. That you don't need them here for the garden to stay afloat. And the final thing, and I got this from just descending into myself, um, and of course watching The Life of Chuck, is reminding myself that if the clouds in the sky are moving forward, I can still move forward, because that means life hasn't ended. And in this wonderfully strange universe that contains all these different things and all these different variables that we know nothing about, it also contains me, and I am allowed to feel as beautiful as I want to be. I'm allowed to exist. I'm allowed to feel as joyful as I want to be. I'm allowed to be as extraordinary as the universe that I live in. I have to tell myself that for me to get out of there. So that's how I manage. I have my art, me putting on my art, bringing on my films. It's what makes me feel alive. It's what helps me translate myself to the world, and I, in the past, I would get emotional saying this. So bear with me.
I'm with you.
But I exist in a world that at times I feel like can't completely understand me. But I know that my foundation, my connection to reality, is the love that my little village has given me. My friends, my Brian, Tanaya, Jalen, Gabe, Julian, and there's like a plethora of different people, but it's like a small, tight little village.
What is your favorite word?
Characters.
What is your least favorite word?
Jackass.
What turns you on?
I love cars. I love sneakers, cartoons. What turns me on is if I go on a spontaneous adventure and then all those things are in that adventure.
It's like the best. But yeah, it's the perfect day.
Yeah,
What turns you off?
bad vibes. Like if somebody comes in with like bad energy or like not good intentions,
Yeah.
and I feel it immediately, then I'm like turned off and I don't want to associate myself with the person.
What is your favorite curse word?
I tell people and sometimes, I do this like sometimes I say this to my brother. Sometimes I say this to, like people who I know when we're in public spaces. Why are you being an asshole?
Like,
Why are you being an asshole?
Calling it out. What sound or noise do you love?
I love sitting in the mountains in Puerto Rico, hearing the rain, but as it's ending, not as it's beginning. Because when it ends, then the sun comes out, and it's the most beautiful thing ever.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Uh, I hate when it's like a high pitched sound when you rub two like pieces of metal together.
What profession other than your own in another world would you like to attempt?
I would get into either the tech space or like space exploration.
And then what profession would you not like to do?
I would hate to be a politician.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome home, baby.
Where can our audience find you? Where would you like to? We will have all of these links, of course, in the notes below. But talk
You
to
can find me on Instagram. You can also find our midnight page at midnight.shore_film.
We will include your YouTube links so that you all can see these films as he's releasing them. That's just so exciting. To all of you artistes in the great Nutmeg state, keep creating and keep connecting because we're here, damn it. This was a blast. Oh, I'm glad you did. You're a wonderful guest. Oh my gosh, what a treat. Yeah. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you really enjoyed the show, leave us a review. It helps us out a lot. Until next time.